welcome to English Corner, Level 1, Lesson 2. Take a moment to look at the back glossary to see what the goal of your lesson is today. There it introduces this, that, and the questions, what is this and what is that? The reason that we chose this question for the students is so that they'll be able to continually use this question throughout their learning experience and gain new vocabulary words. So it's a very important question for the students. Make sure they clearly understand how to use this question. There's also a lot of vocabulary words that are added. The students may not be able to remember all of these vocabulary words right away. However, through repetition, I'm sure in the coming weeks, the students will be able to remember all the vocabulary words with very little problem. But before you start with the actual lesson, you want to have a little warm-up game with the students. So last week, we played a game with them where they either had to wave or to spin whenever you said a greeting or a farewell. So go ahead and play that game with the students, again, just to help refresh their memory. And then you can also go around the classroom and ask everyone what their name is, and have them ask their neighbor what their name is, and make sure everyone's responses are correct. You can even play another quick game with how are you? And you could draw the same pictures that you had on the board last week and have the students run up and touch the one that you're acting out. So if it's great, you could be like, and then have the students all run up and hit great. Or if you're good, students hit good, or if they hit fine or okay. And make sure the students say the word while you just act it out. Playing games like this help to refresh the students' memory, and you can even pepper them throughout the lesson because it's a quick little game and it's something that gets them up out of their chairs. So if you want to just focus on what's in the teacher's manual first, and then throughout the lesson, if you notice that the students are kind of losing their attention or they're having difficulty with a certain thing, you can play a quick little game, get them involved in the class again, and then continue with the lesson. But you always want to do something that builds on the lesson. It's not just fun for the sake of having fun. After you finish the warm-up with the class and they're ready to go, they're sitting in their seats, play the recording from page 5 twice for the students. And I always recommend playing it twice because the first time the sounds and it's all new. It doesn't sound like distinct words. But playing it a second time will help the students pick out the individual words in the conversation. After that, you want to go through and explain the new words to the students. So words such as what, and then this and that. All right? And the main difference between the two words, this and that, is distance. So whenever you're explaining it to the students, act it out a little bit. You can hold a pencil, or you have your book, right? So you could say this, and point to it, and always have your finger touching it whenever you say this. And I like to draw attention to the distance whenever I explain that. So this, and then woo, say that, woo, this, okay? It's great if you can incorporate silly little noises into your lesson. It kind of gets the student's attention. Okay, he's moving away, and then he says that. And then whenever he moves close and he's touching it, he says this. Also notice in the pictures, all the pictures, whenever they say this, they're very close to the object. And whenever they say that, they're far away from an object. Okay, so you can play a quick game after you explain this to the student. Have them hold their pencil and put it in the middle of their desk. And if you say this, they should touch it with both fingers. They should point to it with both fingers. And if you say that, they should go like this, okay? So this, that, this. Try to mess up the students, throw it around, go faster and faster. But the whole point is for the students to understand that this and that, the only difference really is distance. After the students understand the difference between the two words, you can go ahead and play the recording a third time, and this time have the students read aloud with the recording. And then go over the small box on the bottom of the page. It shows the student how to ask a question, and how to respond to the question. Right? So after you go over this little box with the students, go around and have the students practicing, what is this? And then the next student should say, that is, or this is, if they're touching it. So just practice with the students using this question and answering this question. All the students should have an opportunity to hear it, to say it, and whenever they act it out, they see it and feel it as well. Okay? So you want to connect all those dots for the students. And by doing this, it allows the students to learn the language at a much faster pace by making sure your class is always interactive. Now you're ready to go into the vocabulary corner. Now there's a specific way to introduce this vocabulary to the students. Because it's a lot of words, we're going to be very repetitive with it. Okay? So you can always point to objects in the classroom as you say this. And you can incorporate this is, or you can use your book and say, this is a pencil case. Pencil case. Pencil case. Pencil case. Pencil case. And then give the students their cue so they know to repeat. And they should say, pencil case. All right. Then you say, this is a pencil case. This is an eraser. Eraser, 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 eraser. And then give your students a clue, the cue to say eraser. The third word, you say, this is a pencil case. This is an eraser. This is a pen. 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 Okay? So you're going to be very repetitive, but if you change the tone of your voice, if you say it kind of a little bit silly, and then have the students repeat after you, if you kind of dance around the room, have the students get up and move around a little bit as you do this, it'll help to keep them focused, and it's a great way of learning new vocabulary words because it's so repetitive. Then you can always have the students, after you've finished going over the vocabulary in this way, you go around the room and say, what is this? What is this? What is this? And have the students answer. Make sure it's a vocabulary word that you just went over. Okay. Later on, you can play a quick game on the board. You can call out a vocabulary word and see who can draw it the fastest. You can have 2 different teams, however you want to work it. But just, as always, make sure the students get up and moving around the room. And you can even change positions with the student. So instead of the teacher walking around the room saying, what is this? You can have a student up and walking around the room saying, what is this? And the students would respond, and you can be a student as well. So you would respond, and you say, that is a pen. All right? So make sure that the students are using this and that you're very repetitive whenever you do the vocabulary lesson. Section C is an ask and answer corner, and we want the students to do this by themselves. Oftentimes, it can be a one-sided conversation where the students only learn the answering portion because the teacher is usually asking all the questions, but we want to change that a little bit. So we're going to have the students get into pairs with each other in different places around the classroom. And one student will ask, what's this or what's that? If the student says, what's this? They should be pointing to the item their finger should be on top of it. If they say, what's that? Their finger should just kind of be pointing to it with some distance between their finger and the page. And then the other student can respond using Mayan's response. But you want to walk around the classroom, for one, to check that all the students are using English, that they're not just using it as a time to talk. This time is special for them. It's a time for them to focus on their English. So make sure everyone is speaking English in the classroom. Also, you want to check and make sure everyone's pronunciation is understandable and clear. If you notice a student is having trouble with a word or two, go ahead and practice that word over and over with the student until you're happy with the way they pronounce that word. Allowing the students to talk among themselves, give them an opportunity to hear other students say the word, and it may help them correct their own pronunciation as well. Okay, section D is entitled Practice Corner. So the whole class can do this together. You can read out the sentences and say, this is a, give your students a cue so that they know to speak up. This is a great review of the vocabulary they just went over. And again, it brings in the grammatical structure. And the reason that this question is so nice and so important for the class to learn is because later on, they can use this question to continually expand their vocabulary. Oftentimes, they don't know exactly how to say something, so they'll be able to point to it and say, what is this? Or what is that? And hopefully, whoever is listening, if it's an English speaker, will give them the correct answer. So it's really important they learn how to say this correctly, and later on, you'll find that it constantly helps them to expand their vocabulary. Once you've completed teaching these student pages, go ahead and make sure that you save enough time at the end of the class for the students to take care of their student workbook assignments. Give them any needed support as they go over those assignments. And then at the end of class, once everyone has completed their student workbook assignments, you have a teacher game there and the teacher's manual that you can play with the student. And again, this game is not mandatory. If you have another game you like to use that game, but just make sure that it focuses on the main grammar point for this class and this lesson. Okay, thank you for your hard work.